Kody would just take out funds and I don't know what for. When we all first started, there was kind of like this thing. We weighed in on what bills should be paid, how we were gonna pay, who got priority. I don't need to go back and trash everything that was or happened. If I were to say, oh, I'm really sorry I did all that, would I be in this great place? No.
No.
I'm here for it.
They say you can only push a woman so far before she pushes back hard. And according to insiders close to the Sister Wives set, that's exactly what Kody Brown just learned the hard way. Rumor has it, Kody pulled Janelle aside during a recent filming day, away from the production team and out of earshot of the crew, to deliver what he thought was going to be a firm, final warning. Stop talking about the money on camera. He allegedly told her, "You're making things worse."
And then the last several years, Kody would just take out funds and I don't know what for. And the money was just being spent. And lots of it.
But if he thought Janelle was going to bow down and play nice for the sake of the family's image or his ego, he clearly forgot who he was dealing with. Because by the time the cameras were rolling again, Janelle came out swinging. Not with shouting or name-calling, but with the kind of pointed on-camera comments that left fans with no doubt she was done playing by Kody's rules. The irony? The more Kody tries to silence her, the more viewers are hanging on to her every word. Janelle didn't name names, but she didn't have to. Her tone said everything. Calm, cool, but just beneath the surface, you could feel the decades of frustration boiling up, and the context made it crystal clear. She was addressing the exact pressure Kody had just tried to slap down.
I was a father to 18 and a husband to more than just Janelle.
When producers followed up, she made a comment about being told to keep quiet that sent fans spiraling. One fan wrote, "This man wants her loyalty now, after 25 years of crumbs?" Another added, "Janelle's holding back, and even that's shaking him."
So we had a lot of places that money needed to go that weren't always Janelle's business. But Janelle was doing the bookkeeping, so some of the bills to be paid by all of us were supposed to be paid by her.
Behind the scenes, sources say this wasn't the first time Kody has tried to pull that card. In fact, insiders claim he's been strongly encouraging both Janelle and Christine to stick to pre-approved talking points, especially when it comes to finances, favoritism, and anything that might make Robyn look like the golden wife. But this time, he miscalculated. Because Janelle's not just speaking for herself anymore, she's speaking for the women who stayed quiet for too long. And the moment she refused to back down, something shifted. Even TLC producers, we're told, were caught off guard by how direct she was, and that's when it got even messier. Just 2 days before that confrontation, Kody sat down for an on-camera interview that's already making waves, and not in the way he hoped. In the middle of what was supposed to be a reflective moment about where the family stands, he took a sharp left turn and pointed the blame squarely at one of his exes.
He loves this mantra that somehow I was the all-powerful one with all the financial control. I really was just the person who recorded the transactions and sent them to the CPA.
And while he didn't say Janelle's name out loud, fans weren't fooled. "Some people just can't manage money," he said, and then they want to throw shade when things fall apart. The comment hung in the air like a bad smell. He followed it up with a smirk, saying he wished people would own their part in the collapse, before implying that certain family members were still too emotional to be rational. And just like that, the internet exploded. It didn't take long for fans to draw the line between Kody's subtle jabs and Janelle's recent interviews about feeling financially abandoned.
Kody and Robyn probably have some plan of what they want to do and how they want to handle it. I think that Janelle has some sort of plan, and I know that I do as well.
One post racked up thousands of likes within hours. Kody's acting like he didn't hand Robyn a blank check while the rest of them were drowning. Another said he had a favorite wife and a fantasy life, and now he wants to blame the women he left behind? Allegedly, even production staff were stunned by how brazen his remarks were. A source close to the crew said, "This was not a slip-up. He came in with a message to deliver, and that message was, blame Janelle."
And none of us are talking to each other because none of us trust each other.
But that approach may have backfired spectacularly. If Kody was trying to get out in front of something, some brewing financial scandal or fan uprising, he might have made it worse. Because the very next day, Janelle was asked in a separate scene how she felt about the way money had been handled in the family. And while she was measured, she didn't hold back. She talked about sacrifices, years of pouring her paychecks into shared accounts, giving up dreams of homeownership, and being told the family would take care of everyone equally. She said, "It was never about wanting more than anyone else. It was about getting what I was promised. And for a long time, I didn't." That line hit like a thunderclap. What's especially telling is how fans and insiders alike are now connecting dots that have been lingering since season 17. Janelle was the wife who helped pay for Robyn's house. She was the one budgeting down to the dollar while Robyn shopped for matching sets and new couches. And now, after years of biting her tongue, she's letting the truth trickle out, and it's shaking Kody's carefully controlled narrative. A family friend told one outlet, "He's nervous. You can see it. He's used to being the only one with a voice. Now he's losing control of the story." And that's what makes this moment so dangerous for him. Because if Janelle's starting to talk, the question becomes, what else is she willing to reveal? The real tipping point wasn't just about one comment or a few missed checks. This blow-up has been simmering for years, decades even. But if there was one moment that pushed Janelle past the point of no return, insiders say it came in late December of 2022. By then, the cracks weren't just showing, they were splitting the entire Brown household in two. Janelle had spent most of her adult life bending, sacrificing, and trusting that the communal vision they all signed up for would eventually pay off. But what she got, in the end, was betrayal.
I don't need to go back and trash everything that was or happened. I were to say, "Oh, I'm really sorry I did all that," would I be in this great place? No.
No.
I'm here for it.
According to multiple sources close to the family, Janelle finally walked after a heated argument with Kody over unpaid costs tied to Coyote Pass, the land they all pitched in to buy, but only one wife seemed to benefit from. You guessed it, Robin. Janelle had been pressing for answers about the property, trying to understand why her name was still entangled in debts while Robin's sprawling house, allegedly paid for with pooled family funds, stood fully furnished and protected. It was supposed to be their dream, the big build that all the wives would share equally. Instead, it turned into another promise Kody couldn't or wouldn't keep.
Plural marriage is hard. I thought from my myopic perspective, it was just hard on me. But I failed to recognize what a struggle this would be for my wives. It didn't work for a reason, and I tried to convince myself that I did this on purpose because I didn't love them. I love them. This situation, what we experienced, is over. If it could be friendly, I would be very happy.
The final fight, as told by insiders, started with Janelle asking to access her portion of the family account and ended with Kody accusing her of being ungrateful and disruptive. At that point, something in her snapped. She looked him straight in the face and said, "I don't think I want to do this anymore," a source revealed. And she meant it. From that moment on, she began cutting ties. Not in some dramatic overnight blow-up, but with quiet, deliberate moves. She found a small rental, she restructured her finances, she focused on her adult kids, and most importantly, she stopped asking Kody for permission. It was a shift in energy that even the cameras couldn't ignore. Viewers started noticing the change in her tone, her body language. She went from seeking Kody's approval to barely acknowledging his authority at all. And for a man who built his entire identity around being the patriarch, that was a direct threat to the illusion he'd worked so hard to preserve. Kody, for his part, seemed almost dazed. In one of the more telling confessionals that aired shortly after, he looked into the camera and said, "Janelle doesn't respect me anymore. She doesn't love me." He looked shocked, as if this truth had crept up on him without warning. But fans weren't buying it. He didn't notice because he didn't care, one viewer posted. Now that she's gone, he suddenly wants to act wounded? Another wrote, "Kody acted like she was furniture for years. Now he misses the chair he used to ignore." And just like that, the narrative shifted. This wasn't a woman running away. This was a woman taking her power back.
I'm so glad Mary understands it's wise to have a lawyer, because we're not family anymore. I mean, this is people now trying to dissolve a business that went bad, basically.
Because we paid for the land out of the family account.
We all paid for it equally.
But what came next would surprise even Janelle. After years of being the backbone of a fractured family, financially, emotionally, and logistically, Janelle stepped into 2023 with a new mantra: detox. And not just from the relationship, but from the entire lifestyle that kept her tethered to Kody's ever-shifting rules. No more shared accounts. No more waiting for meetings to get approval. No more pretending that things were fair when everyone knew they weren't. Friends say she took the breakup as a hard reset, not just of her circumstances, but of her identity. And for a woman who had spent decades in the shadows, quietly holding the Brown family together, the transformation was nothing short of radical. She moved into a modest apartment, not flashy, but hers. She reactivated her wellness business with a vengeance, promoting health products, fitness challenges, and clean living with an authenticity fans instantly connected to. She started posting more frequently on social media, not just product plugs, but genuine glimpses of her life, walks in nature, time with her kids, cozy moments in her new space. "I'm healing," she wrote in one post, "and it feels really, really good." That one sentence triggered a flood of supportive comments, with many women over 50 saying they felt seen, inspired, even empowered. "Janelle's showing us it's never too late to choose yourself," one woman commented. "She's glowing, and he's imploding," another wrote. Meanwhile, Kody seemed rattled. People close to the production say he was visibly irritated during season 18 interviews when Janelle's glow-up was mentioned. He allegedly dismissed it as a phase and implied she was putting on a show for fans. But it was clear the new Janelle wasn't playing to any audience. She wasn't bitter, but she wasn't bending either. She was simply living freely, unapologetically, and that freedom was louder than any speech Kody could give. Behind closed doors, sources say Kody complained that Janelle's public-facing independence was hurting the family brand. He allegedly told producers that she was selling a false narrative and trying to look like the victim, even as her story resonated with thousands of women who'd endured similar heartbreak. The irony. The more he tried to downplay her journey, the more fans leaned in. Suddenly, Janelle wasn't just a former sister wife. She was a symbol of strength, resilience, and quiet rebellion. Even TLC seemed to notice. Insiders say producers began shifting more screen time to Janelle's solo segments. They followed her on errands, captured her talking to friends, and even filmed her setting new boundaries with the kids. There was a subtle but unmistakable message. This wasn't a pity party. This was a woman stepping into her next chapter, and fans were here for every second of it. But Kody, he wasn't done trying to control the narrative, and what he allegedly did next crossed a line Janelle never thought he'd touch. As Janelle's voice grew louder, steadier, more confident, and backed by years of suppressed truth, Kody's reaction reportedly shifted from frustration to something darker. Insiders close to the production claim that in early 2024, just as Janelle's independence started gaining real traction with fans, Kody made a bold and unsettling move. He allegedly began floating the idea of non-disclosure agreements. That's right. Rumor has it he approached both producers and certain family members with a proposal that would have barred Janelle from publicly discussing anything related to the family's finances, inner drama, or shared property. But here's where it gets messy, because NDAs don't work the way Kody wants them to. Legal experts familiar with reality TV contracts say such a move wouldn't just be unenforceable. It could actually blow back on him. You can't retroactively gag someone from speaking about their own life, especially if they've already gone public, one attorney explained. Unless Janelle signed something before filming, he doesn't have a leg to stand on. But that didn't stop him from allegedly trying. According to a family insider, Kody hinted that if Janelle didn't cool it, she'd risk being cut out of any future revenue tied to the show's merchandising, spin-offs, or property development profits. It was a veiled threat, one that Janelle, by all accounts, didn't take lightly. Rather than back down, she doubled down. In a now viral confessional moment filmed shortly after that alleged conversation, Janelle looked directly into the camera and said, "I've been told not to talk, but I think we all deserve to tell our truth." She didn't flinch, she didn't blink, and that one sentence sent shockwaves through the fandom. It wasn't just a rebuttal, it was a declaration, and fans responded in droves, flooding Reddit threads and Facebook groups with messages of support. Gag orders? Are we watching a mob movie or Sister Wives? One user posted. Another added, he can't silence her anymore. She's too powerful now. Even production insiders say the NDA whispers created tension on set. A source from TLC's legal team reportedly pushed back, saying the show thrives on honesty, not censorship. Janelle's arc is part of what's keeping this franchise relevant, one producer allegedly told executives. If we muzzle her, we lose the only storyline people still believe in. And that speaks volumes about how drastically the dynamic has shifted. Janelle, once seen as the quiet, practical one, has become the show's reluctant truth-teller. And Kody, who once held all the narrative cards, is scrambling to contain the fallout. But this power shift wasn't just playing out in whispered threats and legal shade. Because the moment Janelle stood her ground, it sparked something else entirely. A behind-the-scenes standoff that producers never expected to become the centerpiece of season 19. While the cameras have mostly focused on the tension between the ex-spouses, the real emotional fallout has been playing out quietly behind the scenes through their kids. And nowhere is the fracture more visible than with Janelle's sons. For fans who followed the show for years, the bond between Janelle and her boys has always been one of the most unshakable parts of the Brown family. But since the split, that bond has become even stronger, and in some ways more heartbreaking. Because as Janelle stepped into her independence, her sons found themselves in the impossible position of choosing emotional survival over family loyalty. And many of them, they chose distance from their father. Take Garrison, for instance. Once a fan favorite for his wit and grounded presence, Garrison has reportedly gone completely no contact with Kody. After months of being ignored, dismissed, and told to apologize for speaking up about Robin's special treatment, Garrison finally walked away. One family friend claims the final straw came when Kody refused to attend a military-related event that Garrison had invited him to. He was devastated, the source shared. He just stopped trying after that. And it wasn't just about attendance, it was about being seen, but feeling valued. And according to those close to the family, Kody just didn't show up. Gabriel's story is just as painful. He's spoken openly on the show about the deep hurt he felt during the pandemic, when he tried to maintain a relationship with his dad under constantly shifting rules, by the way, that seemed to bend conveniently for Robin's household. Viewers will remember the heartbreaking moment when Gabriel tearfully admitted that his dad forgot his birthday. That wasn't just a storyline, that was a wound, and one that, from what we hear, still hasn't healed. Rumors now suggest that Gabriel is quietly attending therapy to work through some of the emotional scars left behind, not just from the split, but from years of emotional inconsistency. Even the younger children, who've remained more off-camera, are reportedly picking up on the new energy in the household. Janelle's new living space has become a kind of safe haven. Not fancy, not sprawling, but warm, consistent, and calm. A far cry from the emotionally charged chaos that reportedly swirls around Kody and Robin's home. And while some family insiders claim Kody is trying to rebuild bridges, others say the kids see right through it. They remember who was there when things were hard, one source said. And for them, that person was always Janelle. To make things worse for Kody, the fans have started noticing this generational divide too. Social media threads are overflowing with support for Janelle's boys. They deserved better, one comment reads. Kody lost them when he chose control over compassion. Another post says, Janelle raised strong kids. He just didn't like that they had minds of their own. And as the kids continue stepping further away from their father's orbit, one looming question grows louder: could Janelle and her children go public together with their side of the story? For years, the money in the Brown family flowed like a river, shared, pooled, and divvied up according to whatever plan Kody happened to favor at the time. But now, that river has turned murky, and Janelle, once the quiet accountant behind the scenes, is starting to speak up. According to insiders close to the family's financial arrangement, what Janelle uncovered in the final stretch of her marriage was nothing short of stunning. She started tracing where her money had gone, one source claims, and she didn't like what she saw. From Coyote Pass land debts to mysterious luxury purchases tied to the family account, the numbers didn't add up. And when she asked for clarity, she got excuses. Or worse, silence. The most glaring issue? Coyote Pass. That massive parcel of land was purchased with the understanding that all 4 wives would eventually build homes there, side by side. But years later, only Robin ended up with a permanent residence. And Janelle? She had to rent. She even lived in an RV at one point, just to stay on the property she partially paid for. Fans were furious when that aired, but behind the scenes, the reality was even more frustrating. Janelle was still tied to debt, a friend said. She had equity in a property that never materialized, and meanwhile she was watching Robin live in a fully furnished home with central air and granite countertops. Then came the rumors of private bank transfers, thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars, shifting between shared accounts and what some insiders described as Robin-only withdrawals. There's no public documentation yet, but the whispers have reached a fever pitch. One fan thread recently highlighted a possible timeline showing when large expenses for Robin's home lined up exactly with a dip in the family fund. And while no receipts have surfaced officially, sources say Janelle's been keeping tabs. One person close to her even said, she's got folders, actual folders, she's ready if this gets legal. Which brings us to the looming possibility. What if Janelle sues? She hasn't filed anything yet, but several family lawyers familiar with TLC contracts say she likely has a case for financial mismanagement, especially if she can prove that shared funds were used unequally or without consent. This could open the door to a retroactive claim. One legal expert told a reality TV podcast, if she can show a pattern of misuse, she may be entitled to compensation, or at the very least, a formal audit. And let's be clear, if that audit happens, things could get messy. We're talking back taxes, internal loans, possible liens, none of which would look good for Kody, who's still pitching himself as the misunderstood patriarch just trying to rebuild. But the real bombshell? Janelle may not be the only one tracking the dollars. There's growing chatter that Christine has also been digging into old statements, and the idea of the two women teaming up, that has Kody sweating. Because if even half of these numbers are real, the receipts might just ruin him. With the season's drama spiraling and Janelle standing her ground, Kody did what Kody always does when the spotlight starts to feel too hot. He tried to spin it. Viewers who've stuck with Sister Wives through all its ups and downs noticed the shift almost immediately. In recent confessionals, Kody's tone took on a strange blend of self-pity and damage control. He spoke of trying to repair the family, of being heartbroken that Janelle didn't want reconciliation, and even claimed more than once that he was begging her to love him again. But by then, the audience wasn't just skeptical, they were done. What Kody didn't seem to realize is that the viewers had evolved. They've watched the same patterns play out for years: favoritism, gaslighting, financial redirection. and no amount of teary-eyed edits could paper over the fact that he spent the better part of 2 seasons justifying behavior that left his children estranged and his wives walking away one by one. His redemption arc, as insiders allegedly called it behind the scenes, felt more like a last-ditch rebranding attempt, and fans saw straight through it. Even TLC seemed unsure what to do with him. According to whispers from inside the production team, the editors were caught in a tug-of-war between presenting Kody as a flawed but sympathetic father figure or letting the raw footage speak for itself. The original cut of season 19 had more of his emotional side, one insider revealed, but when they tested scenes with preview audiences, the feedback was brutal. Viewers didn't feel sorry for him. They were rooting for Janelle. As a result, several scenes were reportedly re-edited to give more screen time to Janelle's independence and the kids' emotional reactions. Less Kody crying, more consequences. That shift says everything. TLC has long walked a fine line between exploiting family dysfunction for ratings and shielding its key players from complete fallout. But this time, they may be bracing for impact. Because Kody's once loyal fanbase is dwindling fast, and the only thing keeping viewers locked in? The women who left him, Janelle, Christine, even Mary, who's been largely silent, is starting to get sympathy simply for surviving the chaos as long as she did. And Kody knows it. He's losing his grip not just on the family, but on the narrative. That's why, according to one insider, he's been pushing producers for a final say over how reunion footage gets edited. But as of now, he doesn't have it. And that reunion footage is exactly where this story could blow wide open. Because if what we're hearing is true, Janelle isn't done talking. In fact, she's preparing to bring evidence. And if that's the case, the final showdown might leave everyone speechless. TLC reunion specials have seen their fair share of drama, but insiders say this one might just go down as the most explosive moment in Sister Wives history. And the reason? One woman, one envelope, and one final chance to say everything that's been left unsaid. According to multiple sources close to production, Janelle is walking into the taping with binders, literal binders, labeled, tabbed, and filled with everything from printed bank records to old text messages and signed contracts. The vibe? Less family reunion and more courtroom showdown. And if Kody thinks she's bluffing, he may be in for a brutal surprise. Word is, Janelle has been quietly preparing for this moment for months, not out of revenge, but out of resolve. She's tired of being painted as the problem, said one family friend. She kept the books, she watched every dollar, and she's done letting people rewrite history. Apparently, the decision to bring documentation came after Kody's string of interviews accusing her of financial mismanagement. That, according to sources, was the final straw. She felt backed into a corner, the source explained. He turned public opinion against her. Now she's coming with proof. And the timing couldn't be more damning. Season 19 has already been a PR mess for Kody. Viewers are openly mocking his pleas for forgiveness as performative. His attempts at emotional redemption are being drowned out by social media clips of him deflecting, dismissing, and dodging real accountability. If Janelle's documents contain even a fraction of what insiders claim, misused funds, broken financial promises, favor-based spending, Kody's public image could take a hit that even TLC can't edit around. But it's not just Kody who should be nervous. Robyn's name allegedly appears in several of the flagged transfers, and while she's mostly stayed silent through this brewing storm, that silence may not protect her much longer. According to one source, Janelle's receipts include annotations linking certain deposits directly to purchases made for Robyn's household, furniture, vehicle upgrades, even private lessons for her children. There's a paper trail, the source said, and once it's out, you can't walk it back. What happens next is anyone's guess. TLC executives are reportedly debating how much of the confrontation to air. Some want to protect the show's brand. Others are pushing for full transparency, especially after fan backlash over previous seasons' sugar-coated edits. One thing is certain, if Janelle brings the receipts on camera, it won't just be another dramatic episode. It'll be a turning point. A moment where the curtain finally gets pulled back, and the carefully curated myth of family unity is replaced with something raw, honest, and irreversible. So now we ask you, should Janelle release the financial receipts to the public, or is that crossing a line? And if the roles were reversed, would Kody show her the same mercy? Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more, because the next video on your screen is waiting. And trust me, this family drama, it's far from over.